Vodafone has been one of the most vocal and active supporters of the Open RAN movement amongst the telco community and has been working hard during the past couple of years on its plans to introduce Open RAN capabilities into its commercial networks. To give us an update on its latest developments, I'm talking today with Yago Tenorio, Fellow and Network Architecture Director at Vodafone and Chairman of the Telecom Infra Project, or TIP. So welcome, Yago. Thanks for joining us again today. So what are the latest Open RAN developments at Vodafone? Is real world progress being made?
Yes, we're making progress in the real world indeed. As real as Bath, we just turned on our first site of Open RAN. If you remember, it was in November 2020 when we announced our commitment to roll out 2,500 sites in the UK, and we just turned on the first one of them. So in June, we announced the vendors. We're now live. And I have to say, we haven't got a single week of delay in the project. It's running really, really well.
And can you tell us more about this site in Bath in the UK? Is it an urban site or outside of the town? How many concurrent connections can it handle? What kind of capacity does it have? And how does it compare to a traditional site's capabilities?
To begin with, is just outside of Bath. Is in the surroundings of Bath. Is covering some rural communities. Is in a majority is a rural environment that is covering. But make no mistake, is we have, for instance, one very important customer of ours is Wessex Waters. They have their HQ there covered by this site. They have an internal scheme on 2G, 3G, if I remember well, but they're getting the 4G and the 5G signal from this site. So it is an important site. It's a real world site. And it's performing really well. We've measured speeds in excess of 100 megabit per second downlink, about 40 megabit per second uplink, 30 milliseconds latency. This site is being served from London Core, so that's where most of the latency is coming from. It's performing really, really well. How does it compare to a traditional site? Well, it's equipped with 4G and 5G. It's also got running a 2G, 3G legacy system. In terms of site configuration, is exactly the same as a traditional site. There's no difference.
So it sounds like the Open RAN parts of this site are handling the 4G and 5G traffic, but the 3G and 2G, that's been handling by the legacy existing capabilities. Is that right? And if so, how does this all work together? This site with the existing mobile infrastructure in terms of call handover and other service and network management processes.
Yeah. So the most important part is 5G is Open RAN, pure Open RAN to the final specification, no compromise, no proprietary system, no anything. 4G for now is incumbent architecture, and 2G, 3G is the legacy kit that was on the site. Why is that? What's the reason? Because we prioritize the development of 5G, which is what we wanted to test before anything else. 4G is just finished the development. We have it under testing and it'll come. There's no particular hurry in roll out the 2G, 3G part. We will actually do the 2G part as we shut down 3G in the future.
And in terms of so you've got Open RAN and legacy architecture on the same site and within the same network. Have there been any challenges in terms of the integration of those different architectures? Is this all being managed by a single management system?
So not big challenges. It's working and it's working very well. And it's not only interworking with the legacy parts that remain on site or the non-Open RAN parts that are on site for delivering 4G for now. It's also interoperating with the surrounding sites that we didn't change. So this site is fully integrated in the network. There are handovers in and out, and the network is performing really well. So it's an integral part of the network. Were there challenges? Well, I wouldn't say challenges, but I think for the most important part, this piece of work, I think, is pioneering this technology. It's early days for Open RAN. So integrating any of it into the network requires a lot of, say, world-class quality work. But we're taking on the system integration ourselves, and we are progressing very well. As I said before, there hasn't been a delay or anything, and the progress has been really smooth. The performance is really good, and we're learning a lot in terms of, what's important and when it comes to system integration. We've always said that 2022 would be the year of system integration. I think we're proving it now.
So obviously one of the key elements around Open RAN is what kind of impact it can have on cost, on the economics of mobile networks. What kind of cost implications does the start of this commercial rollout have? Do you have any data right now on the CapEx and OpEx implications for network rollouts and operations going from this point?
Let me say a couple of things from what I can share. I mean, first thing we said, and we still think, the Open RAN has an extraordinary potential in the long term to reduce the cost for the industry when it comes to the radio, both in CapEx and as well as in OpEx. The second thing I would say is this is a message to every operator in the world. We just turned this on. We installed, commissioned this site. We integrated it into our network. It's delivering service to our customers, some important customers of us, and it's working really well. Even if the strong benefits will come in the longer term, the actual premium that you have to pay for going Open RAN at this point in time is much, much smaller than what we thought. And if I have to highlight one point, I will say when it comes to energy, I know it's been said or debated if Open RAN was going to be less efficient. Well, I tell you what, the energy consumption and the energy efficiency of this site is actually very similar to a comparable equivalent site with incumbent architecture, and is of course much better than the site which is replacing, which is a legacy kit that is some years old. So I know there's been doubts or questions as to, Open RAN is going to be less efficient. Well, I tell you what, no, is as efficient as the current incumbent architecture, much better than the legacy.
Okay, that's interesting. Obviously, that's a really big focus point for anybody looking at Open RAN. And I very much doubt that there won't be continual questions about the efficiency energy-wise or others of Open RAN. But like you said, it's still early days, of course, in the rollout of these commercial systems. Another aspect, of course, is the multi-vendor aspect of Open RAN and the need for integration. What has Vodafone learned about the multi-vendor potential of Open RAN deployments from the process you've gone through in Bath? And what opportunities might this open up for XApp and RApp developers who are looking to get their technologies into the mobile operators?
So first, system integration, which I think it was, one of the last outstanding topics to answer for Open RAN to become a reality. I think that's now going away. I think we are answering. In our case, we decided to take on system integration ourselves. That for the life cycle of a site, what we are announcing today and the site that we just turned on, that means you're dealing with a completely new technology on its early days. You have to install and commission a new site. You have to optimize the performance of that site. You have to, as you said, make it interoperate with the surrounding network that maybe the legacy vendor in this case. We've done all that. And I think it's not, at the end, it's not that difficult. It works. One thing that we've learned is that it requires, in our case, it required a lot of work, previous work in testing in our lab. We do have the lab in our HQ in Newbury, which is where the action is taking place. We also have the labs from our suppliers. And when it comes to system integration itself, the things that we've learned is this will only work if, the ecosystem work together. So we as an operator, together with our vendors of choice, leveraging their own lab facilities, centralized and coordinated by our efforts in our lab, That's a critical thing. But how do you incentivize these partners to actually prioritize the end-to-end delivery and not their own part is also fundamental. I think we're working really well with all of them. And I think it's thanks to all of them and to their spirit into this that the project is progressing smoothly. There is also some important feedback loop from the field that has to go all the way to R&D and development, in this case, for all our partners, to take the learnings from the field to improve the product. And I give you one example that we're working on at the moment is we're taking all the data from the field to go back and optimize the way the Samsung software, in our case, runs into the Intel processors to make it, in the next versions more efficient, so that the next software releases will be more efficient running on Intel processors. That feedback loop is also very important. Oh, sorry. And you mentioned RIG and XApps and AirApps. So the same as I think system integration was the outstanding question for Open RAN in 2022, RIG and XApps and AirApps is no doubt the future of Open RAN. Now, I think we will start to see this in 2023, but first we need to make sure that system integration is in place, that performance is in place, that your site is performing the same or better than the legacy site that is replacing, and that you have line of sight with a better total cost of ownership, and that is under control. I think in a year from now, we'll start hearing about RIG.
Okay, excellent. I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot about RIC and XApp and RApp developments in the coming months as well. But good to know that there's that pathway there within Vodafone. So in terms of the UK rollout, what happens next? How soon will we see other sites carrying commercial traffic?
Soon enough. So we have a lot of stuff on the pipeline. And you would really enjoy seeing what's in our labs in Newbury. We have, apart from stuff from actually any or all of the vendors that are relevant in the Open RAN space, particularly for our vendors of choice in the UK, we have 4G Open RAN under test. We do have massive MIMO systems. We expect to be finishing the test around summer 2022. We will be testing also accelerators from Intel, the layer 1 physical accelerators, Westport first and Mount Bryce after that. We will be testing 5GSA. All that is actually in motion, and the pipeline is leading to field. So the next thing that we want to do, rather than just simply deploy another site like the one we deployed now, we want to build a cluster, sizable cluster, say between 10 to 20 sites, in a more populated area. I can anticipate it's going to be a urban area where we can stress the system with some capacity requirements, but also where we can deploy more bands and more systems, including, for instance, the massive MIMO I just referred to. So a realistic time frame to get that done is still within this year, but probably in the autumn. So that's the biggest next milestone. So before we just roll out another site like this, we would probably prioritize a complete cluster with new release, new features, and kind of a step up in terms of complexity. And that would be, if that's autumn 2022, the other, I think, step in the UK rollout would be that by this time next year, we will be entering into volume rollout. So I think the testing and clustering phase will be probably over, and we will be just rolling out volumes across the footprint that we selected for Open RAN.
Okay, interesting. That cluster development really does sound like a big step up. So interested to see when that happens, where it happens, and the impact of that. So that's the UK, and you've been talking about the Open RAN rollout in the UK for a while now. But what about other markets? Can we expect to see anything similar across Europe in 2022 or 2023?
Yeah, I think so. We can't really say exactly where or when. However, we've always said that Open RAN is part of our future and our technology of choice. We've always said that this UK deployment would be the first one, but not the last one. We are under no hurry. I think it's important that we test the technology to the limit, that we learn and we experience and we squeeze all the developments that we are doing to get this done before we start other project. However, I mean, I can't deny that we're already thinking on that, and there are some designs on the background, and we are seeing possibilities. It's also important that other operators follow this trail. I think we're mindful that we are starting and we are pioneering it in Europe. It's very important that other operators get the signal that we're comfortable that is working. All the work that we've done with some of our fellow operators in Europe about specifying the exact Open RAN equipment that we want is working, and is working very well. What we now have on the air in the UK is exactly what we said that we were going to do, and is delivering. So for sure, you will see us deploying in other markets in Europe, but I also hope that other operators deploy in their markets, because this will only help Open RAN to pick up volume and scale, which we need.
Well, yes, I'm sure we'll hear a lot more in 2022 from other operators as we did in 2021. And I'm sure all of those operators will be coming and knocking on your door, Yago, to get some feedback on what you're doing here in the UK. So great to talk to you. Thanks for giving us this update, and look forward to talking to you again later in the year as things progress. Thanks very much, Yago.
It'll be my pleasure. Thank you, Ray.